everyone. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be back in the garden. I've been away for almost 2 weeks, and but I did do a video of the garden before I was away on surgery, and I went on a little trip to Toronto. And Greg, my husband, was really awesome about keeping everything watered. In the greenhouse here, I'm going to show you my petunias are doing so well. And from up above as well, the strawberries that we planted together in a previous video are starting to grow. So I'm super thrilled. Zinnias are all in the greenhouse, and I probably have enough trays here to fill that 4x8 bed that's out there. Originally, I had 2 beds planned, so I'll show you what's happening there. And I've got lots going on. I have roses that need to go in the ground. Just before my surgery, my replacement roses from Heirloom Roses arrived, but of course, I wasn't able to plant them. So we're getting a lot of rain this week. So it's probably a good thing. Number one, the grass needs it and the gardens need it. And it's forcing me to take it a little bit slow. So I promised my mom when I left Toronto that I wasn't going to work too hard. So the weather is cooperating with that. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoy this. Thank you. So here are the zinnias that I planted in soil blocks, and they have been sitting in the greenhouse this entire time. They are just soaking up the sunlight that the greenhouse is providing, so they weren't under grow lights. And boy, have they ever stretched out since I left. I've been gone about a week, and I think I planted these believe early April. So it's been about 4 weeks roughly, or maybe it was May. No, it was only early May. Sorry, I need to correct myself. It was early May when I planted these. So they're doing pretty awesome. And then down on the ground are my tubers, my dahlia tubers. Listen to that wind howling. So there's 2 here that haven't pre-sprouted, and oh, those are dahlia breakout. That's unfortunate. Those are the nice big dinner plate. And everything else seems to be sprouting. I remember my favorite one. That's Pom Pom Franz Kafka hasn't come up. And this is Stoltz Van, but that could have been just a small tuber. So, oh, Joey Winnie. Joey Winnie, they were moldy, and I asked for a refund, but there was a couple tiny ones that weren't completely nasty looking. They were all moldy, if you recall, but this one, there was a couple that were really small, and I went ahead and gave it a shot. So that's good news. They're coming up. But these 2 are just smaller. The Stolz, gosh, Stolz Van Berlin is what that is. And Franz Kafka. So I hope I have more. That's Labyrinth. That's a big one. Labyrinth. 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 Lots of labyrinth. Let's break out. Dinner plate. Perfection. Dinner plate. Well, we will have to plant these out together, won't we? So I need to find a place in the landscape, because I don't think I have room in my beds that I talked about. And over here are the beautiful lemon coral sedum that we planted together a little while ago. Look at how beautiful they are. And the big yellow machinery back there, the cat machinery, the big white elephant in the room. As I mentioned in one of my last videos, they fenced off that back area there. So it is going to be construction around here. They are building a house over there, and I know for sure it's a older couple and it's a ranch bungalow that they're building. So that will be nice. Ooh, these are the tomatoes, the yellow hat tomatoes, the container tomatoes we planted together. Oh, sorry, orange hat tomatoes. They're looking really good. And gosh, these ruby violas. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I just need to come in here and deadhead them a little bit, as I'm doing now. But I planted these for my mom, her namesake. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at that. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I've been talking about my mom coming to the garden, hoping she comes to the garden. But she's not really able to travel right now with my dad being sick. But my mother-in-law will be coming to town, I believe, in the next few weeks to attend her granddaughter's graduation party. So that's kind of fun. Look at these. Oh, so beautiful. Aren't they beautiful? And then over here are the other zinnias that I had started actually under grow lights. So it'd be really interesting to see them side by side. Let's take those over. These were started under grow lights at least a couple weeks before these ones that were done outside. So you can see side by side, let's try to level these up. There's not that much difference between the left side being grown in the greenhouse and the ones on the right being grown under grow lights. And these have just been out here in the last week hardening off. So that's kind of interesting. Last year I did a test with my zinnias where I direct sowed some, and then I had some under grow lights, some in pots, um, some in soil blocks, and the soil blocks did the best. So here we've got some status and the cucumbers. I want to plant cucumbers in large containers, and I'll plan to put them in the corners of the greenhouse, and then I will wire them up to a top wire up there, and so they will trellis from the ground up. I thought about putting them in hanging baskets, but I've rethought that whole idea. And look at the petunias. I don't know if you can see with the gray skies kind of hovering, and then the strawberries up there. So they'll start trailing soon, but look at the two types of petunias. Oh, look at those. Absolutely beautiful. And those are the ones that are supposed to trail, but they're kind of just upright with the sunlight. Oh, I see a little flower. Let's take a look at the strawberries. I'll try and get up on a stool. Okay, so I'm up here on the stool, and I'm just going to hover around the top of this hanging basket that has the strawberries. This lovely bloom here will be a strawberry one day. So that's pretty exciting. So they're doing great. Thank you, honey. My husband took care of watering all of my containers daily. I was so thrilled. And then over here, look at those petunias. Aren't they gorgeous? And strawberries over there, and the petunias in the back. Let's see if we can catch that without me falling. I also wanted to show the marigolds on the left here with the cucumbers on the right. So I have 8 plants of marigolds, and I have a few other, let's see, Pro Cut White. Oh, these are my sunflowers that I started. These were the last seedlings that I sowed the day before surgery. And then I just have a few just remaining little, I think there's some ageratum, some asters, a couple of these are snapdragons, not looking too healthy. But anyway, I did want to show my replacement roses. I wanted to show you how Heirloom ships now. They don't use the black plastic cans any longer. They do these plastic bags and these recyclable cartons. And like I said, I've been gone a week, so they've been in these containers on the potting bench all week so that they can get sun and rain. There was no rain last week, but Greg came in and you can tell the soil is pretty damp. He came in and watered them daily because I was very concerned about them and being replacement roses. So I don't know why I don't have a tag on this one. Gosh. Well, I know that I have, let's see, Claire Austin over here. She's looking really good. I'll do a process of elimination. I have Tranquility, another David Austin. And then I have the Pilgrim, which is a climbing yellow rose. So she's slowly leafing out. She has quite a few canes, but very thin ones. So these two, by process of elimination, are Sweet Romance. So the hope is that I will get them planted, and I'll do a video on that, a separate video, hopefully within the next week, next few days. Hi everyone, welcome back to my garden. It's Ann at Martin House Flowers. So I've been away for a week. I was in Toronto visiting my family, my beautiful grandson, my daughters, my mom and dad, and I was also fortunate enough to see some friends. And I came back just last night and took this little walk around the garden, and I could not believe what has changed so much. My hydrangeas here on the east side of the garden are already budding up. The hostas seem to be fully bloomed out. I haven't even had a chance to put down sluggo. I'll see whether or not I need to do that. I'm going to try some natural methods with some yeast and sugar and water. I had my wonderful husband watering everything, and those roses, my replacement roses, are still sitting on the potting bench, of course, because after surgery they arrived and I couldn't do anything with them, so he's been watering them, and they're sitting in the greenhouse now because it's pouring rain today. But look at what happened to my peonies. Thank goodness they held out for me. I was so worried I'd miss them bloom, but I'm so surprised at the alliums, how some of them look almost finished, but they're definitely still blooming. I'm so thrilled. Kiss Me Kate over there has grown and looks like she's ready to bloom out. These containers are on my to-do list to freshen up, and that nest of eggs in my basket. I'm so short, I could barely reach to stick my camera, but there they are. There are eggs in there, and I guess we're leaving them. And my Cat's Meow Nepeta we planted together, they're blooming out now, and all the tulips, of course, are finished. But wow, the roses are just ready to explode. There are buds on my Earth Angel, and along the rose border here, look at Cat's Pajamas Nepeta. The brilliant purple blooms are so incredible. And there are buds. There are buds on Olivia Rose. Look at those. I'm so excited. I'm going to have roses soon. And that's Queen of Sweden, I believe, on the left. So happy to see these. New Dawn climbing up the arbor. She has a couple small buds. So exciting. I guess the fertilizing worked. But the sad news is the poet's wife. There's a new bare root peony. Yeah, the poet's wife that was next to the peony. I finally pulled the cloche off because she did not make a comeback. So it's the next morning, and Eddie and I have just caught a few minutes in between rainstorms. It's been raining all night, and look at that. We need to fix our post, our mailbox post. It's really, the paint is peeling. So I just wanted to see these alliums that I know I showed in the last video, where they were just tiny little balls, and they've bloomed out in the past week. And the grass certainly needed this rain, and we're going to continue to get rain all day today and possibly the next 3 days, which I'm totally fine with. It's forcing me to take it easy. Unfortunately, I won't be able to plant my roses, the replacement roses, but I can certainly keep things watered. And meanwhile, I'm taking a look at this lavender that is not doing that great. It's partially blooming out. That nest, a bird just flew past. Those are finch eggs, apparently, goldfinch eggs, Greg said. But look at that pot of pansies and violas. They just like grew. And my Tchaikovsky is definitely leafing out beautifully, so it's making a comeback. And that rose there is another David Austin that has a couple buds on it. I think I showed that earlier. So Greg told me on one of our phone calls this past week that we had such crazy wind that this entire lemon tree in its glazed clay pot fell over the porch onto one of the spireas. Luckily, it didn't break, and it's okay. And they finally mowed the empty lot next to us, thank goodness. I'm just looking at all of the foliage, and I do see a couple of buds up there on New Dawn on the arbor. That's so exciting. So I'm looking along here. We're back on the front walkway, and the leaves on the tulips that were the first to bloom in April look like they're almost ready to cut back, because I plan to plant some of those coral geraniums that were in the earlier clip. I'm going to put coral geraniums along the pathway. Last year I did sunshine and patience, and they were so needy. They would droop and needed so much water because it's full sun. But look at that. That is Olivia Rose. Lots more buds. As I think I've mentioned before, this has got to be in my top 3, if not my favorite, David Austin rose. This is their second year. Just planted them last spring. Looking for more buds of New Dawn. My Princess Spireas, and those were 10 or 11 lupins I planted from seed, and bunnies just decimated it. I'm hoping some of them survive. And this Rose Awakening, I recovered it because I noticed when I pulled the cover off, the bunnies started munching on it again. Boscabelle back there is under a cloche, and it's leafing out nicely. So the lavender that did so beautifully last year, that we got at a good deal, it doesn't look like they perennialize, so that's too bad. There's a couple more roses there. And look at the Happy Jack Clematis. I need to come in here and stake this or tie it to the arbor so that potentially it will climb. I need to check how tall it climbs. And the roses there. Salvia is about to bloom. So one day last week, or when I was still here, I think, Greg noticed a bunny just sitting inside these beds. These are the beds where I planted everything, either direct sowed or from the winter sowing jugs. And this is anise hyssop that I did in the eggshell container. And it seems to be doing okay. We've got some Buplurum. Buplurum I found wasn't that successful in direct seeding, direct sowing. So I ended up planting some other seedlings that I had odds and sods of. This is feverfew. Again, feverfew did not do great direct sowing. That's to be noted. I need to make my notes. And this is just some Colorado mix yarrow that I had left over from my seedlings. So I put some in there. And this is really a pleasant surprise. My dark blue larkspur that I did direct sow, that I chilled the seeds in the refrigerator for a couple of weeks. But these are the easiest, I thought. The all of the Blue Boy and Artistic Mix bachelor's buttons that we direct sewed, they were fine a week ago, but looks like the bunnies made themselves a snack. So there's more here. There's more of the Artistic Mix and mostly Artistic Mix yarrow, and there's poppies in here that are looking really healthy, and there's a few cosmos, and then there's 3 or 4 rows of bachelor's buttons, so I'm not worried about not having enough. That will be my zinnia bed on the left. This was supposed to be my zinnia bed, but I had so many extra seedlings. Last year I didn't have enough filler flowers, so this year I grew too many. So I've got here some ageratum, a couple rows of that. Salvia is also here, but look what they did. The bunnies just came in and literally broke branches. They don't eat them. They just break them and leave them for dead. They're just terrible. So it looks like Greg's we're going to have to go back and get more of that, that metal grid. And here we did post them and put the grid around the snapdragons, and look, I have blooms. I need to come in here and put my Hortanova netting, and that's why we needed the T-posts, because they have little notches on them, and I can zip tie the netting along those 4 corners. Just tie them there to the 4 corners, and I'll have some netting. The benches on the gravel, probably because that was another one that fell over in the wind. There's a few of the, gosh, very disappointing lupins, and here all the lupins in the center were eaten, and then I have a lot of the other, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what those are, that look like feverfew but are not. So this tree here, the base was covered in ants, so I didn't end up planting any. Look at my beautiful lilacs. I was disappointed in that shrub, the yellow shrub there. I'm drawing a blank, but this is the spot where I planted all of my bulbs that were in containers that were finished before I left, or before I had surgery. So I planted a couple rows in there. I just buried them in there, and they should come back. And look what's blooming. They finally made a comeback. Oh, so excited. And the other bloomerang lilac. So I'm so thrilled about that perennial that recovered. So here we're taking a look at my sweet peas. Honestly, I'm disappointed in my sweet peas, any of it that's in the ground. I think next year I'm going to grow a lot less and just stick to the 3 containers on the patio. So let's take a look at the kitchen garden. It's drizzling a little bit, but we're fine. I planted some chives, that's remaining from last year, some peppers, some lettuce, and that flowering one right there, that's a baby bok choy. I'm assuming I need to leave the flowering because that will turn into, or no, I guess I shouldn't, because I don't know, I need to research that. And these are the tomatoes that I planted too closely together. Greg keeps reminding me, but I need to bring out the obelisk and space them accordingly. So I've decided that since I have lots of zinnias and I no longer have a second 4x8 bed, I'm going to plant my zinnias in between the hydrangeas. Isn't that a great idea? I'm so thrilled because then they'll be appreciated as you walk by, and I'll also be able to cut on them. And look at this stained glass hosta that I split for my neighbors. Someone has been coming in here and snacking like they're a salad. So you can see everything's soaking wet. And there are some of my pansies, violas from seed, and my beautiful hostas. And over here, the tulips that didn't do well, I planted some basil. Those are from winter sowing jugs, and I just direct sowed some other herbs, some sage, some chives. And I'm looking closely, can't see anything. There is the cascading hydrangea and petunias I grew from seed in these two pots. I had removed bulbs from there. The other cascading hydrangea and the sweet peas are looking good. They're getting enough moisture. Greg remembered to water them. I need to come in here and cut back those bulbs. I might spend some time in the greenhouse. So this topiary spruce, I think it's a topiary. I forget what kind of spruce it is, but I need to prune that. And there is my turtle head. And only one of those Roseanne geraniums survive. And here's 3. They're looking good. The little hydrangeas, Tiny Quickfire, I think they are. I get those mixed up. And look at that. What a surprise. Though that perennial came back. I'm going to look up the name. I'm sorry. I don't have tags on everything, and I'm drawing a blank being away from the garden. And those are 3, that's 1 rose that did not make it. That's a waste of a cloche. But those are Let's Dance Skyview hydrangeas that are just coming up. So there's my viola wine lata pansies that are doing well. I need to prune them a little bit. Just snip off all the dead ones. I'm going to try to keep them for a few more weeks just because that's what I like about violas is they're so small and delicate and they don't get as leggy as pansies do. I know I've seen some other gardeners on YouTube already pulling out all their pansies and violas, and I find that a little sad, but I get it. Sometimes they just get too leggy if you've got warm temperatures, as we did last week. We hit like 90 last week for just a day or two, but this week it's going to be seasonal, more seasonal temperatures in the 50s, high 50s today, and then eventually to the 60s. And these 3 are so strategic. I don't know. They look like weeds. I'm pulling them out. Didn't even get a chance to check whether or not those were something. What do you think? Was that a weed? And here are my petunias from seed and the geranium that I got from Barb's. And I have some of my pansies and violas in here. And I have that other perennial in the middle. Eddie drinking water from this flagstone, and he shouldn't.
Well, that's it for today's video. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.